The great crystal hall of Nexus Prime glowed with soft blue light as thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important celebration in known history. Commander Zara 9 of the Velkarian Empire stood at the center podium, her tall purple form casting long shadows across the assembled crowd. Today marked exactly 500,000 years since the Great Silence began, and every species in the galaxy had come to celebrate their greatest victory. Alex Harper sat quietly in the observation deck, his modified appearance making him look like any other Centaurian scientist. His green skin and 4 arms were perfect copies, created by technology so advanced that even the best scanners could not detect the deception. He had been living this lie for 47 years, moving from world to world, gathering information and waiting for this moment. The Velkarian commander raised her voice, and the hall fell silent. She spoke of the old days when humans had spread across the stars like a disease, bringing their violence and chaos wherever they went. She told the crowd how these primitive beings had refused to follow galactic law, how they had built weapons of mass destruction, and how they had threatened the peace that all civilized species cherished. The crowd cheered as holographic images filled the air above them. They showed the blue world called Earth, once covered in green forests and vast oceans, now nothing but a dead rock floating in space. The cities that had once held billions of humans were gone, turned to glass and ash by the righteous fury of the galactic fleet. The humans had fought back with everything they had, but their primitive technology was no match for the combined might of 47 advanced civilizations. Alex watched the images and felt his heart race, but his face remained calm. He had seen these recordings before, studied them for decades, memorized every detail. The alien speakers told of how they had tracked down every human colony, every outpost, every ship that tried to escape their justice. They spoke of the final battle above Earth itself, where the last human fleet had made its desperate stand and failed. The Andromedans had provided the heavy warships that broke through Earth's defenses. The Zephyrians had contributed their advanced targeting systems that made escape impossible. The Thracians had supplied the planet crackers that turned human worlds into cosmic dust. Every species had played their part in what they called the Great Cleansing. Commander Zara 9 continued her speech, describing how the galaxy had known peace for 500,000 years since the human threat was eliminated. No more wars, no more chaos, no more unpredictable violence. The remaining species had learned to work together, to share resources, to build a better future without the cancer of humanity spreading through their space. The audience erupted in applause as she showed statistics of galactic progress. Trade between worlds had increased by thousands of %. Scientific advancement had accelerated beyond all previous measurements. Art and culture had flourished in ways that were impossible when the galaxy lived in fear of human aggression. The elimination of humanity had truly ushered in a golden age for all civilized life. Alex looked around the hall and counted the faces he recognized. Dr. Lisa Grant sat 3 rows down, her Zephyrian disguise perfect after centuries of practice. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood near the exit, his Thracian appearance hiding his true nature from everyone around him. Jake Sullivan was working as a server, moving through the crowd with drinks and food, his modified Velkarian form allowing him to blend in completely. There were dozens more scattered throughout the audience, all of them human, all of them maintaining their covers while gathering intelligence. The aliens celebrating around them had no idea that the species they thought extinct had been living among them for thousands of years, learning their secrets, studying their weaknesses, preparing for this moment. The Velkarian commander moved to the final part of her presentation. She activated a massive holographic display that showed the current state of human space. Every world that had once supported human life was now barren. The Sol system was empty except for automated mining stations. Earth itself had been turned into a monument to galactic unity, its dead surface serving as a reminder of what happened to species that chose violence over cooperation. The crowd stood and began chanting the traditional words of the Great Silence ceremony. They spoke of peace, of unity, of the wisdom that came from eliminating those who would destroy harmony. Their voices rose together in languages from across the galaxy, all united in their celebration of humanity's destruction. Alex activated. A tiny device hidden in his palm, recording every word, every face, every admission of genocide. This evidence would be crucial for what came next. The aliens were so confident in their victory that they openly discussed the details of their crimes, never imagining that their victims might still be listening. As the ceremony reached its climax, Commander Zara 9 raised a crystal goblet filled with wine from the Andromedan homeworld. She proposed a toast to galactic peace, to the wisdom of unity, and to the 500,000 years of prosperity that had followed humanity's extinction. The entire hall raised their drinks and repeated her words. The irony was almost too much for Alex to bear. These beings spoke of peace while celebrating mass murder. They claimed to value life while describing the systematic elimination of an entire species. They praised their advanced civilization while admitting to genocide on a scale that history had never seen. But Alex kept his expression neutral and raised his own glass with the rest of them. He had trained for decades to control his reactions, to hide his true feelings behind a mask of alien calm. The other humans in the hall did the same, playing their parts perfectly while recording everything for the reckoning that was coming. The ceremony ended with a final declaration from the Valkyrian commander. She announced that this celebration would become an annual tradition, a reminder to all future generations of the price of chaos and the value of peace. The Great Silence would be remembered forever as the moment when the galaxy chose wisdom over violence. As the crowd began to disperse, Alex made his way toward the exit, along with thousands of other beings. Tomorrow he would transmit his recordings to the hidden network that connected humans across the galaxy. The evidence would be analyzed, processed, and added to the vast database that had been growing for 500,000 years. The aliens thought they had won the ultimate victory, but they had no idea what was coming. Humanity had not died in the flames above Earth. They had learned, adapted, and grown stronger in the darkness their enemies had forced them into. The Great Silence was about to end, and the galaxy would discover what humanity had become in the shadows. Jake Sullivan finished his shift at the mining station on Kepler 442b and walked slowly back to his quarters. The other workers paid him no attention as he moved through the corridors, just another Valkyrian drone doing his job in the deep space facility. His purple skin and tall frame made him look exactly like any other member of his supposed species, down to the smallest detail. The mining station orbited a dead world, rich in rare metals that the galaxy needed for their advanced technology. Jake had been working here for 312 years, slowly rising through the ranks while maintaining his perfect disguise. His supervisors trusted him completely, never suspecting that their reliable worker was actually their greatest enemy. In his small room, Jake activated the quantum communicator hidden inside what appeared to be a standard entertainment device. The message that came through was simple but carried the weight of centuries of preparation. The sleepers were awakening, and Phase 1 was beginning across the galaxy. Jake felt his heart rate increase as the nanobots in his bloodstream responded to his emotional state. The technology that kept his disguise perfect also monitored his health and reactions, making sure he never broke character even under extreme stress. But tonight was different. Tonight, after 500,000 years of hiding, humanity was finally ready to reveal itself. Across the galaxy, similar messages reached other hidden humans. Dr. Lisa Grant received hers while working late in her laboratory, aboard the research vessel Cosmic Dawn. She had been posing as a Zephyrian scientist for over 2 centuries, contributing to their advanced weapons research while secretly gathering intelligence about their military capabilities. The message appeared on her personal tablet, disguised as routine research data. But Lisa knew the code, and she understood that everything was about to change. She quickly copied the files she had been working on, downloading decades of research into weapons technology that the aliens thought was completely secure. Captain Ben Rodriguez got his signal while on duty aboard the Thracian warship Dominator. He had spent 400 years working his way up through their military hierarchy, earning medals and commendations while secretly mapping their entire command structure. The other officers respected him as a loyal soldier who had never questioned an order or shown any sign of disloyalty. The message reached him through the ship's internal communication system, hidden in what looked like a routine maintenance report. Ben deleted it immediately, but not before memorizing every detail. Phase 1 was beginning, and he had his own part to play in what came next. On a hidden base deep inside the asteroid belt of the Vega system, Admiral Kate Morrison coordinated the awakening of thousands of human agents across known space. The base was completely invisible to alien sensors, hidden inside what appeared to be a natural rock formation, but was actually one of humanity's most advanced facilities. Kate stood in the command center, watching as reports came in from every corner of the galaxy. Her agents were receiving their orders and beginning the first phase of a plan that had been 500,000 years in the making. The aliens, celebrating their victory on Nexus Prime, had no idea that their every move had been watched and recorded by the species they thought they had destroyed. The base around Kate was a marvel of human engineering that pushed the boundaries of known science. Quantum computers processed information at speeds that would have amazed the most advanced alien civilizations. Fusion reactors provided unlimited power while remaining completely undetectable. Weapons systems that could crack. Planets waited in silent readiness. Jake began his assigned tasks at the mining station with subtle precision. A small adjustment to the power grid here, a minor modification to the communication array there, nothing that would immediately attract attention, but everything designed to weaken the facility's defenses. His 3 centuries of loyal service meant that no one questioned his access to critical systems. The work had to be done carefully. If the aliens discovered human involvement too early, it would ruin everything. The plan required patience and perfect timing, qualities that humanity had learned during their long exile in the shadows. Every action had to appear accidental. Every malfunction had to seem like normal equipment failure. Dr. Lisa Grant made her own contributions aboard the research vessel. She introduced tiny errors into the weapons systems she was helping to design, flaws that would not become apparent until the weapons were actually used in combat. Her reputation as a brilliant scientist meant that her work was rarely double-checked, giving her the freedom to sabotage decades of alien military research. Also began copying more sensitive data, using her security clearance to access files about alien fleet movements and military strategies. The information would be invaluable when Phase 2 began, and humanity revealed its true strength to the galaxy. Captain Ben Rodriguez used his position on the warship to gather intelligence about Thracian military capabilities. He had access to their most classified databases and could monitor their communications with Fleet Command. More importantly, he could influence their decisions by providing subtle advice that his superiors trusted completely. The captain began suggesting minor changes to patrol routes and defensive positions, alterations that would make the Thracian fleet more vulnerable when the time came. His fellow officers appreciated his tactical insights, never suspecting that they were being maneuvered into positions of weakness. All across the galaxy, other humans began similar operations. Power grids experienced mysterious fluctuations. Communication networks suffered unexplained delays. Critical systems developed minor malfunctions that seemed random but were actually carefully coordinated. The galaxy's infrastructure began showing hairline cracks that no one could explain. Admiral Morrison watched the progress reports with satisfaction. Every human agent was performing exactly as planned, weakening alien defenses while maintaining their covers. The species that had celebrated humanity's destruction for 500,000 years were about to learn that their victims had become something far more dangerous than they ever imagined. The Admiral activated her personal communication system and sent a message to a figure that the aliens would have thought impossible. The signal traveled through quantum tunnels that existed outside normal space, reaching its destination instantly despite the vast distances involved. The response came back immediately, confirming that the next phase was ready to begin. Humanity had spent 500,000 years preparing for this moment, building technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen, creating a shadow civilization that could survive anything their enemies might try. Jake finished his shift and returned to his quarters, his tasks for the day complete. Tomorrow he would continue his work, gradually weakening the mining station's defenses while maintaining his perfect disguise. The other workers would continue to trust him, never suspecting that their reliable colleague was preparing their doom. Dr. Lisa Grant completed her sabotage of the weapons research and began preparing for the next phase of her mission. Soon she would need to reveal herself to key alien scientists, shattering their assumptions about the nature of reality and forcing them to confront the truth about humanity's survival. Captain Ben Rodriguez made his final reports to the Thracian command. Structure, his recommendations accepted without question by officers who had trusted him for centuries. The fleet was being positioned exactly where humanity needed it to be when the revelation came. Across the galaxy, thousands of other human agents completed their assigned tasks and prepared for what came next. The Great Silence was ending, and the species that had thought themselves the masters of the universe were about to discover what humanity had learned in the darkness they had forced them into. The aliens had made one critical mistake in their genocide against humanity. They had assumed that destroying the human homeworld and colonies would eliminate the threat completely. But humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their weapons. It had been their ability to adapt, to survive, and to learn from their enemies. Now, after 500,000 years of patient preparation, that strength was about to be revealed to a galaxy that had forgotten the true meaning of fear. Deep beneath the frozen surface of Europa, Chief Engineer Ryan Clark walked through corridors that no alien had ever seen. The facility stretched for hundreds of kilometers through the moon's interior, a vast network of tunnels and chambers that had been growing for 500,000 years. Automated systems hummed quietly around him, manufacturing weapons and ships that existed beyond the current understanding of galactic science. Ryan paused at an observation window and looked out at the main production floor. Massive assembly. Lines worked without rest, guided by artificial intelligences that had been learning and improving themselves for countless centuries. The machines built vessels that could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, weapons that could manipulate matter at the quantum level, and defensive systems that bent the laws of physics to their will. The facility was completely hidden from alien detection systems. It appeared on their sensors as nothing more than geological activity beneath Europa's ice, natural movements in the moon's crust that posed no threat to anyone. The aliens had been mining in this system for thousands of years, never suspecting that humanity's greatest manufacturing center existed right beneath their feet. Ryan activated his personal communicator and connected to the network, the vast system that linked human facilities across the galaxy. Reports flowed in from installations hidden inside dying stars, buried in asteroid fields, and concealed within the empty spaces between solar systems. Each facility had been building and expanding for millennia, creating a shadow civilization that spanned known space. Dr. Amy Foster worked in one of the most extreme locations humanity had ever established. Her research station existed within the core of a collapsing star, where temperatures and pressures created conditions that allowed for experiments impossible anywhere else in the universe. The stellar furnace provided perfect cover and unlimited energy for her work with exotic matter. Amy stood before a containment field that held materials that technically should not exist according to known physics. she had spent 3 centuries, learning to manipulate matter at its most fundamental level, creating substances that could pass through solid objects or become harder than diamond at will. Her research had produced weapons that could crack planets and defensive systems that could survive the explosion of a sun. The research station was invisible to any form of detection. It existed as a pocket of altered space-time within the star, itself completely isolated from the outside universe except for quantum communication links. Amy could work for millennia without fear of discovery, pushing the boundaries of science while the galaxy remained completely unaware of her existence. Captain Steve Parker commanded a fleet that no alien had ever detected. His ships existed, in parallel dimensions, able to observe and analyze everything that happened in normal space while remaining completely invisible. The vessels could strike without warning and disappear before their targets even realized they were under attack. Steve stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching displays that showed alien fleet movements across the galaxy. His ships had been monitoring every military installation, every government facility, and every research center for thousands of years. Humanity knew more about alien capabilities than the aliens knew about themselves. The fleet was built using principles that the galaxy's best scientists would have called impossible. The ships existed partially outside normal reality, drawing power from sources that existed in other dimensions. Their weapons could reach across space and time to strike targets that thought themselves completely safe. All of this technology was connected through the network, a communication system that made the aliens' fastest transmission methods look primitive by comparison. Information traveled instantaneously between facilities that were separated by thousands of light years, allowing humanity to coordinate operations on a galactic scale. Ryan walked deeper into the Europa facility, passing through sections that specialized in different types of production. One area manufactured the biosynthetic disguises that allowed human agents to live among alien populations. Another created the quantum sensors that had been secretly installed in alien technology across the galaxy. A third produced the dimensional storage devices that allowed humans to hide vast amounts of equipment in spaces smaller than atoms. The scale of the operation was staggering. Humanity had been building this infrastructure for 5 times longer than most alien civilizations had existed. Every facility was completely self-sufficient and capable of defending itself against any attack the galaxy could mount. More importantly, each installation could rebuild itself from nothing if it were somehow discovered and destroyed. Dr. Amy Foster completed another breakthrough in her stellar laboratory. She had learned to create materials that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing for construction techniques that the aliens would consider magical. Her research had made possible the ships and weapons that humanity would soon reveal to a shocked galaxy. The exotic matter she worked with could be programmed to behave in ways that violated everything the aliens thought they knew about physics. It could become lighter than air or heavier than a black hole. It could pass through solid barriers or become completely immovable. Most importantly, it could be used to create weapons that would make alien defenses completely useless. Captain Steve Parker received new intelligence from his monitoring systems. The alien fleets were positioned exactly where humanity needed them to be for Phase 2 of the plan. Their ships were scattered across the galaxy in formations that would make coordinated defense impossible when the revelation came. His parallel dimension fleet began moving into position around key alien worlds. The ships remained invisible and undetectable, but they were ready to reveal themselves the moment Admiral Morrison gave the command. The aliens, celebrating their victory, would soon discover that they were surrounded by forces they could not see or understand. The network carried constant streams of information between human facilities. Production reports, intelligence updates, and strategic analyses flowed through quantum channels that existed outside normal space. Every human agent across the galaxy was connected to this system, allowing for coordination on a scale that no alien civilization had ever achieved. Ryan accessed the main production schedules and smiled at what he saw. The facility had just completed construction of a new class of vessels that would serve as humanity's reveal ships. These massive craft were designed to be seen and understood by alien minds, demonstrating human technological superiority in ways that could not be ignored or dismissed. Unlike the dimensional fleet that remained hidden, these ships would announce humanity's return to the galaxy. They combined elegant design with obvious power, beauty with implied threat. When they appeared in orbit around alien homeworlds, there would be no doubt about what they represented. Dr. Amy Foster uploaded her latest research to the network, sharing breakthrough discoveries with human scientists across the galaxy. The collaborative nature of their civilization had accelerated scientific progress beyond anything the aliens had achieved. While alien species hoarded their knowledge and competed with each other, humanity shared everything freely among their hidden population. This cooperation had produced technological advances that seemed impossible to alien minds. Humanity had learned to manipulate time, space, matter, and energy in ways that the galaxy's best scientists would call miraculous. They had become something beyond what they were before their supposed extinction. Captain Steve Parker coordinated with similar fleet commanders across the galaxy, positioning their vessels for maximum psychological impact when they revealed themselves. The aliens needed to understand immediately that resistance was futile, that humanity had become something far beyond their ability to fight or comprehend. The hidden infrastructure that Ryan managed was just one part of a vast network that stretched across known space and beyond. Humanity had not simply survived their attempted extinction. They had evolved into something that transcended the limitations their enemies had tried to impose on them. As Phase 2 approached, every facility increased. Production to maximum levels. The weapons, ships, and technologies that would reshape the galaxy were being prepared for deployment. The aliens who had celebrated humanity's destruction for 500,000 years were about to discover what their victims had become in the darkness. The network pulsed with activity as final preparations began. Across the galaxy, thousands of hidden facilities coordinated their efforts with precision that would have amazed the aliens if they could have seen it. Humanity was ready to emerge from the shadows and reclaim their place among the stars. The species that had thought themselves the masters of the universe were about to learn that they had been living under the watchful eyes of their supposed victims all along. The Great Silence was ending, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened just 3 days after the celebration on Nexus Prime. Senator Zek Prime of the Andromedans called the assembly to order, his usually calm demeanor showing signs of strain. Reports had been flooding in from across known space about impossible technologies appearing everywhere, and the galaxy's leaders demanded answers. Grand Admiral Thigh 9 of the Velcarian Empire stood to address the council first. Her purple skin had taken on a pale shade that indicated extreme stress among her species. She reported that their most secure military installations had been compromised by an intelligence that claimed to be human, a species they had personally overseen the destruction of 500,000 years ago. The Admiral activated a holographic display that showed communication logs from the past 72 hours. Ships had appeared on their sensors that seemed to exist outside normal space-time. Weapons signatures had been detected that operated on principles their scientists could not understand. Most disturbing of all, their artificial intelligence systems had been contacted by entities claiming to represent humanity. Dr. Vel Karan of the Zephyrian Science Council spoke next, her voice trembling with disbelief. Her research facilities had been infiltrated by technologies that should not exist according to known physics. Quantum computers had appeared in their laboratories overnight, operating at processing speeds that made their most advanced systems look primitive. When they tried to analyze these devices, they simply vanished. The Thracian military representative, General Core 7, reported that his fleets had detected ghost signatures throughout their space. Ships that registered on sensors but could not be targeted or tracked, vessels that seemed to phase in and out of reality at will. His officers were reporting contact with beings who knew detailed information about classified Thracian military operations. As the reports continued, a pattern emerged that chilled every representative in the council chamber. Every species that had participated in humanity's destruction was experiencing the same phenomena. The humans they thought they had eliminated were somehow making contact, demonstrating technologies that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Alex Harper entered the council chamber through the main doors, his biosynthetic disguise dissolving as he walked. The nanobots that had maintained his centaurian appearance for decades deactivated themselves, revealing his true human features. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives scrambled to understand what they were seeing. The security systems activated automatically, deploying energy barriers and summoning armed guards. But Alex continued walking calmly toward the center podium, his body passing through the supposedly impenetrable force fields as if they did not exist. The weapons that the guards fired at him simply passed through his form without causing any damage. Alex reached the speaking platform and stood where Commander Zara 9 had delivered her victory speech just days earlier. The chamber fell silent as every representative stared at the impossible sight of a living human addressing their council. His voice carried clearly through the vast hall as he began to speak. He explained that humanity had never died in the flames, above Earth. They had simply learned to hide better than their enemies could seek. For 500,000 years, humans had lived among the alien populations, studying their cultures, learning their weaknesses, and preparing for this moment of revelation. The scope of human infiltration became clear as dozens of other disguised. Humans throughout the chamber revealed themselves simultaneously. Dr. Lisa Grant's Zephyrian appearance dissolved, showing her true form to colleagues who had worked beside her for centuries. Captain Ben Rodriguez's Thracian disguise faded, shocking officers who had trusted him with their lives. Alex activated a holographic display that showed the true extent of human presence in the galaxy. Thousands of agents had been living among alien populations for millennia. Every major government had been penetrated. Every military organization had been compromised. Every scientific institution had been thoroughly infiltrated by the species they thought extinct. The representatives watched in growing horror as the display showed human facilities hidden throughout known space. Manufacturing centers inside, asteroid belts, research stations within dying stars, and fleet bases in the empty spaces between galaxies. The infrastructure that humanity had built in secret dwarfed anything the aliens had achieved in their golden age of cooperation. Senator Zek Prime demanded to know how this was possible. Alex explained that the aliens had made a fundamental error in their understanding of humanity. They had assumed that destroying human worlds would eliminate the human threat, but they had never understood what made humans truly dangerous. It was not their technology or their weapons, but their ability to adapt and survive under any conditions. Admiral Morrison's fleet began revealing itself throughout the galaxy simultaneously. The ships that had existed in parallel dimensions phased into normal space, appearing in orbit around every major alien homeworld. The vessels were beautiful and terrible, combining organic curves with geometric precision that spoke of technologies beyond alien comprehension. The alien representatives in the council chamber watched their homeworld defense networks activate and then fail completely. The human ships did not attack, but their mere presence demonstrated the futility of resistance. Weapons that could crack planets remained silent, but their implied threat was clear to every being in the galaxy. Dr. Amy Foster appeared on the main display, speaking from what the aliens now realized was the transformed Earth itself. The planet they had thought dead and barren was revealed to be a living monument to human ingenuity. The surface had been rebuilt as something beyond alien understanding, where the boundary between technology and biology had been completely erased. The Earth that appeared on their screens bore no resemblance to the dead world they had created. Vast cities of living crystal stretched across continents. Oceans teemed with engineered life forms that served as both ecosystem and manufacturing system. The atmosphere itself had been modified to support technologies that the aliens could not even begin to comprehend. Alex continued his address to the shocked council, explaining that humanity offered the galaxy three choices. The species that had participated in the genocide could face the same fate they had inflicted on humanity. They could submit to human authority and accept the gradual dissolution of their civilizations. Or they could prove that they had evolved beyond the xenophobic fear that had driven them to attempted genocide. The testing of alien species began immediately. Captain Rodriguez, now commanding one of the great judgment ships, oversaw the evaluation of Thracian military leaders. Those who showed genuine remorse for their actions and demonstrated growth beyond their previous limitations were offered partnership in a new galactic order. Those who maintained their hatred and fear faced increasingly severe consequences. Dr. Foster addressed the Zephyrian Science Council directly, challenging them to prove that their commitment to knowledge extended beyond their own species. The scientists who could acknowledge their mistakes and work toward genuine cooperation were welcomed into humanity's expanded research programs. Those who could not were excluded from access to the technologies that would define the galaxy's future. The Valkyrian Empire, as the architects of the original genocide, faced the harshest judgment. Commander Zara 9 stood before Alex and demanded to know what gave humanity the right to judge civilizations that had achieved galactic peace. Alex's response was simple. They had earned that right by surviving what the aliens had tried to do to them. The Valkyrians made a final desperate attempt to destroy the human fleet using weapons they had kept hidden since the original war. Planet cracking. Devices that had once turned human worlds to cosmic dust fired at the ships orbiting their homeworld. The weapons had no effect on vessels that existed partially outside normal reality. In response to this attack, humanity demonstrated the true extent of their evolved capabilities. The Valkyrian homeworld did not explode or burn. Instead, it simply ceased to exist. Where their star system had been, there was now only empty space, not destroyed, but erased from history itself, as if it had never been. The message was clear. To every remaining species in the galaxy, humanity had become something beyond their ability to fight or comprehend. The species that they had tried to eliminate had evolved into beings capable of rewriting the fundamental nature of reality itself. Alex concluded his address to the Galactic Council with a simple statement. The old order was ended. The species that remained would build a new galaxy under human guidance, or they would follow the Valkyrians into non-existence. The choice was theirs, but the time for decision was limited. As the human ships maintained their positions around alien worlds, the galaxy held its breath and prepared for judgment. The Great Silence had ended, and the universe would never be the same. The galaxy waited in tense silence as human ships maintained their positions around every major alien world. No shots were fired, no planets were bombarded, but the implied threat was clear to every being who looked up at their night sky. The species they had tried to eliminate now held the power of life and death over entire civilizations. Dr. Amy Foster stood in the great council chamber that had been built within the transformed Earth. The structure existed in multiple dimensions, simultaneously allowing representatives from across the galaxy to attend meetings regardless of their physical location or biological needs. The chamber itself was a demonstration of humanity's evolved capabilities, a space where the laws of physics bent to accommodate the needs of diplomacy. The representatives who had been chosen to attend came from species that had shown the capacity for growth beyond their previous limitations. The Andromedans had sent their finest philosophers, beings who had spent centuries contemplating the nature of consciousness and morality. The Zephyrians had selected their most innovative scientists, researchers who valued knowledge above species loyalty. The Thracians had surprised everyone by sending their youngest officers, individuals who had not been alive during the original genocide, but had inherited the consequences of their ancestors' actions. These representatives spoke of honor and redemption, concepts that had been forgotten during the centuries of celebrating humanity's supposed extinction. Dr. Foster began the session by addressing the fundamental question that faced every species in the galaxy. They could continue to exist as separate civilizations competing for resources and territory, or they could join humanity in building something greater than any single species could achieve alone. The choice would determine not just their immediate future, but the ultimate destiny of life in the universe. Captain Steve Parker had been assigned to oversee the integration of alien military forces into the new Galactic Defense Network. His parallel dimension fleet worked alongside alien commanders who were slowly learning to accept human authority. The process was challenging, as many officers struggled to take orders from the species they had been taught to consider extinct. The captain stood on the bridge of his flagship, monitoring the progress of joint training exercises. Human technology was being shared selectively with alien forces that had proven their commitment to the new order. Advanced weapon systems, dimensional drive engines, and quantum communication networks were gradually being integrated into alien fleets that met humanity's standards for reliability and moral development. Some species adapted quickly to the new reality. The Centaurians had always been natural diplomats, and they embraced their role as intermediaries between human authority and more resistant civilizations. Their representatives worked tirelessly to explain the benefits of cooperation and the consequences of continued defiance. Jake Sullivan found himself in an unexpected position as humanity's ambassador to the former mining colonies. His centuries of experience living among alien workers had given him unique insights into the psychology of ordinary beings who had never participated in the original genocide. These populations were often more accepting of human authority than their governments, recognizing that their daily lives had improved dramatically under the new system. The mining station where Jake had worked for over 3 centuries became a model for the new galactic economy. Human technology eliminated the dangerous and monotonous work that had previously been required, while advanced manufacturing systems provided unprecedented prosperity for all workers regardless of species. Productivity increased by orders of magnitude while working conditions became safer and more comfortable than anyone had thought possible. Admiral Morrison coordinated the vast logistical challenges of transforming an entire galaxy. Her hidden network of facilities had emerged from the shadows and begun open operations, sharing their advanced technologies with species that had earned the privilege through demonstrated loyalty and growth. The manufacturing centers that had operated in secret for millennia now worked openly to rebuild the galaxy according to human vision. The process was not without resistance. Several species attempted to form alliance against human authority, believing that their combined strength could challenge the new order. These rebellions were ended quickly and decisively, not through violence but through demonstration of humanity's absolute technological superiority. When the Rigelian Confederacy declared war on human authority, their entire fleet simply stopped functioning. Every ship, every weapon, every communication system became inoperative simultaneously. The Confederation's leaders found themselves unable to contact their own forces or coordinate any kind of military response. After 3 days of complete helplessness, they surrendered unconditionally. Dr. Foster addressed the philosophical implications of humanity's return during a session that was broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. She spoke of the evolution that occurred when a species faced extinction and chose to transcend their limitations rather than accept defeat. Humanity had become something beyond what they were before their supposed destruction. and they offered that same transformation to any species willing to embrace it. The transformation was not forced upon anyone. Species that chose to remain at their current level of development were allowed to do so, but they were also isolated from the advanced technologies and opportunities available to those who joined the new galactic community. These populations lived in comfortable reservations where their traditional ways of life were preserved and protected. Captain Ben Rodriguez worked with Thracian military academies to retrain their officer corps according to human principles. The warrior culture that had made the Thracians such effective participants in the original genocide was gradually being redirected toward more constructive purposes. Their natural aggression was channeled into exploration, research, and the defense of weaker species rather than conquest and domination. The process revealed that many alien civilizations had been trapped in patterns of behavior that limited their potential for growth. The competitive mindset that had driven them to participate in humanity's destruction had also prevented them from achieving the level of cooperation necessary for true advancement. Under human guidance, these species began to discover capabilities they had never known they possessed. Ryan Clark oversaw the construction of new manufacturing facilities that operated openly throughout the galaxy. The hidden infrastructure that humanity had built over 500,000 years provided the foundation for an economic system that eliminated scarcity and want. Every species that joined the new order found that their people enjoyed unprecedented prosperity and opportunity. The facilities produced not just material goods, but also the tools for continued advancement. Educational systems that could download knowledge directly into organic minds, medical technologies that could extend lifespans indefinitely, and research equipment that allowed ordinary beings to make discoveries that would have required centuries of study under the old system. The Galactic Council was restructured with human representatives holding ultimate authority but with significant participation from alien species that had proven their commitment to the new values. Decisions were made through consensus when possible, but humanity retained the power to override any choice that threatened the stability or progress of the galactic community. Jake Sullivan stood on the observation deck of a space station orbiting the transformed Earth and reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. Below him, representatives from dozens of species worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old order of competition and mistrust. The galaxy had been reborn under human guidance, and the future held possibilities that no single species could have imagined alone. The transformation was not complete and might never be. Some species would always struggle with the transition from their old ways of thinking to the new reality of cooperation under human authority. But progress was being made every day, and each generation of alien young grew up in a galaxy where the benefits of the new order were simply accepted as natural. Admiral Morrison made her final log entry about the Great Transformation, recording her thoughts for future historians who would study this pivotal moment in galactic history. She wrote that humanity's greatest victory was not revenge against those who had tried to destroy them, but the creation of something better than what had existed before. The species that had celebrated humanity's extinction for 500,000 years had learned that their victims possessed something more dangerous than weapons or technology. They had the patience to wait, the wisdom to learn from their enemies, and the absolute determination to ensure that genocide would never again be celebrated as a victory for civilization. The galaxy had been transformed from a collection of competing civilizations into a unified community working toward common goals. The Great Silence had ended not with humanity's return to their old place among the stars, but with their elevation to a position of benevolent authority over all life in the universe. The future stretched ahead, filled with possibilities that no single species could achieve alone, but that all of them together might accomplish under humanity's patient guidance.